Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where the orchard of wisdom shows are at your fingertips. It ignites your soul, your heart, your spirit, your mind, and your body with illumination from people who have made the journey before you. They're here now to help you on your journey, on your path of self-discovery. We are funded by you, the audience, and the people we interview. If you wish to support us, please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com and press on our Fund Action button. Anything is appreciated. We'd like you to sit back and enjoy the shows. Here we go.
They call me Dr. John.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, wherever you are. Welcome back to Your Health is Your Choice. We are back again with Dr. John Poothullill, but we're going to call him Dr. John. He's been with us before where we talked great insights about diabetes and obesity and many things, and I knew I had to have him back again on the big C word. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. You're listening here on selfdiscoverymedia.com, and the big C word today is cancer, all the various different types of cancer, and the fact that it's still very much a very prevalent disease out there. Dr. John, he empowers his patients with new scientific insights and complementary approaches to prevent obesity, reverse diabetes, and survive cancer. He's had a practice as a pediatrician and allergist for more than 30 years, and 27 of those years was in the state of Texas. He has, I think you're retired now, aren't you, Dr. John?
Yes, I am.
But you just keep sharing that wisdom around with us everywhere. I do invite you to go back and listen to our first show. We really did cover a lot. We really opened up a great deal of can of worms there and really looked at a great deal of stuff, including the coronavirus, and wonderful details on the virus and exactly what it is and what we really can do about it. And again, about the diabetes. But we knew that we had to talk about cancer today and all the various different types of cancer, and to realize that in many, many ways, it's an environmental disease, but it's also very much an emotional disease, isn't it, Dr. John?
Well, every disease has an emotional component,
Mm-hmm.
especially something like cancer. The word cancer creates fear and uncertainty in every person.
Mm-hmm.
Fear because you don't know what it leads to, uncertainty because you don't know how it happened.
Yes, or what to do about it, because, I mean, the cancer survival rate today is extremely high, but it's quite an evasive treatment. And you've got the radiation, you've got the chemotherapy, you've got all of that. I've interviewed quite a number of people who have taken alternative routes to that, and cured the cancer. But there has to be a particular mindset around the cancer when you get it, right? Because they say that most people would die from the diagnosis before they die from the disease.
The question is, how does cancer cause death?
Mm-hmm.
Cancer does not release any toxins. Cancer does not invade the neighboring cells and destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
So, what causes death in cancer? Any idea?
What alters that in cancer?
What is the How does death result from cancer? How does cancer cause death?
By breaking down the cells?
No,
Oh,
it does not break, because that's why it does not produce any toxins to damage cells. It does not invade and destroy the neighboring cells.
okay. All right then. Okay then. How does it kill us? Why is it such a killer?
Because most of the fear is based on the uncertainty.
Yes.
So what we need to do is identify, what exactly is happening in cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know that, that empowers you to do something about it. So what is cancer? Cancer is uncontrolled multiplication of a cell.
Okay.
Now, in order to understand that, we need to understand controlled multiplication. Can I give you an example?
Please, we need an example.
If you get a cut in the skin,
Mm-hmm.
the skin separates. How does it heal?
They're coming back together.
Right. But but in order to bring it back, you need new cells.
Mm.
Every organ, every cell, every tissue has what are called stem cells.
Mm-hmm.
Stem cells are mother cells that produce baby cells.
Aha.
The final cells, the skin surface cells, they cannot divide. Only the stem cells at the base of the skin will divide. So a cell that is suddenly exposed to the air will send a message to the stem cell nucleus, my neighbors are missing.
Mm.
And the stem cell will start producing new cells to fill up the gap. When the gap is filled, the cell will send another message to the nucleus, my neighbors are back, we don't need any more new cells.
Mm.
So every cell function is based on an order from the gene in charge.
Okay. The
There is
boss.
one gene in charge of cell multiplication. It issues a work order, multiply, produce new cells. And when the cells, the gap is healed, the message goes to the gene, but another gene in the nucleus issues a stop work order. We don't need any more.
Okay.
In some people, the work keeps on going and they have a keloid.
Ah, right. Overproduction.
Overproduction. But, so in other words, the people who are supposed to stop are slow in responding. They keep on producing a few more, just
Mm-hmm.
in case. In cancer, there is no stop work order. So the cells will keep on multiplying because they don't know when to stop.
Ah,
That is
okay.
all. That is all what is cancer is about.
So you have so many different variations of cancer. There's
Right.
skin cancer, there's lung cancer, there's, you know, leukemia, lymphatic, and all of that. Is
Yeah.
this all basically the same, an
Exactly.
overproduction, but
Every
manifesting in a different way?
correct. Every cancer starts with one single stem cell. And keep in mind, we inherit two copies of the same gene, one from the father, one from the mother.
Mm-hmm.
To give you an example, suppose you have a family history of breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? That means you have inherited the if the mother had the breast cancer, you inherit the mother's gene has been mutated. But keep in mind, the girl does not develop cancer the moment the breast develops.
Right.
Why? Because the father's gene is taking over.
Ah, okay.
If the father's gene gets mutated because of cancer causing agent, that is when the girl or the lady starts having cancer.
And it doesn't mean just because the gene is there that you are going to definitely get it. It's generally something that happens that an illness or an injury that can set it up in motion.
Every gene carries the potential.
Right.
It is not your destiny.
Yes.
Because the gene itself cannot activate anything. It is just a recipe book to
Mm-hmm.
produce a protein.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is defective, then you have a problem.
Right.
Or if it is damaged. So when you have radiation, when you have exposure to infection, toxins, if they damage both copies of the same gene, the growth inhibiting gene, then when the stem cell gets started, there is nobody to issue the stop work order.
So we go after the cells and attack them to stop them. But isn't there a way of getting a message back to the boss and saying,
Well,
the stop order?
in order to stop or reverse any medical condition, you need
Mm-hmm.
to know the cause.
Right.
If you don't know the cause, you cannot change it. So, in order to understand cancer, we need to know, how does the cell know to divide? Who taught the cell? Think about it. It
Yeah.
is, you are duplicating yourself.
Right.
And how does the cell know that it can do that? And what is the mechanism?
Mm.
May I explain that
Yeah.
to
No,
you?
we want. Yeah. I'm intrigued here. We want to know.
Every human being comes from one single stem cell,
Ah.
right? That stem cell is produced when the sperm fertilizes the ovum.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one cell called zygote. Do you know where that fertilization takes place? It does not take place in the womb.
Oh. Okay.
It takes place in the fallopian tube as the ovum is traveling.
Okay.
And it takes 6 days of journey before it reaches the womb. And during that time, by the time it reaches the womb, there are 200 cells inside that zygote.
It's gathering its army.
It is multiplying as it is tumbling down the fallopian tube, which means it is not connected to the mother.
Mm.
So, how did it learn to divide? And what is the signal for it to divide? Where is the material to construct
Mm.
200 cells?
Yes.
It is all in the ovum. The materials are in the ovum, it's already packed to produce 200 cells. They become smaller and smaller as they divide, but the number remains the same. The 200 is important because each one of them become a stem cell for a different organ or system in the body.
Ah. Okay.
And so
They go to their different departments.
exactly.
Yeah.
And once they are assigned to a department, they lose ordinarily their ability to multiply based on internal signaling. They respond to
Ah.
the, just
Okay.
like a skin case, when they get a message, we need more cells, that is the only time they are supposed to divide.
Right.
So the point is, every stem cell inherited or comes with the capability to divide by itself, which started with the original cell, which I call the Adam cell that divided for some
Mm-hmm.
reason.
Mm-hmm. So,
So,
okay, so let's reiterate that. So it's one cell that in the fallopian tube um, multiplies into 200. And
right,
then when it's in the womb and developing, the child then goes to each of their own departments. In other words,
correct,
they're in charge of different organs in different parts of the body.
right,
They just continue to do their job
right,
until they're called upon to
yeah,
fix an injury.
right,
All right. And then they go to work to multiply more cells to fix. But if
right,
there isn't a stop order, they
right,
keep multiplying, and that's when it becomes detrimental.
correct,
Okay.
exactly. So that is what we need to know. Now we have to understand, in order to prevent it, we have to identify what started it, what is starting it in each individual, in each system. It can be
Mm,
different.
yeah.
Now, let me tell you another very interesting insight. That is, the most number of precancerous cells in the body is when you are in the mother's womb.
Mm-hmm.
However, when the baby is born, 99% of those precancerous cells have been destroyed.
Oh, why? They were just there as building blocks?
Who are building these cells? They are all novices. They have never had any previous experience, right?
Okay, right.
So they make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and each mistake is a mutation. And so there are so many precancerous cells, but the nature knows that.
Yeah.
So it has put in an immune system. In fact, we have a group of white cells called natural killer cells.
Mm-hmm.
And their job is to hunt down any cancerous cells and destroy them.
Fascinating. So you basically are being fired. Right? This is the wrong department for you. We're firing you. So it's the body will only keep what it needs to be productive. And if you are redundant, then you are eliminated.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Or another example is the human brain. An adult brain has only 1/2 the number of neurons before the baby was born, because there are so many unneeded neurons. They produce in excess, and then whoever is not connected to each other, they eliminate them.
Okay.
There is an attrition.
Right. So it's fascinating, isn't it, how the body works? It really is. So when we do develop a cancer, that goes down to the root boss cell. That
Correct.
is either getting mixed messages or is malfunctioning.
That's a very good question. Why are we, if we have such a robust immune system,
Yeah.
why are we having cancer?
Mm-hmm.
So as we can see in the baby, precancerous cells, plenty of them in the womb, but when the baby is born, 99% have been eliminated because of the immune system,
Right.
very active. So now we can see two possible causes for anybody to have cancer. One is the immune system suddenly got weaker.
Okay.
So they cannot eliminate all the cancer cells.
And they're constantly reproducing, are they?
Correct. The
Okay.
cancer cells are reproducing.
Okay.
Or the cancer cells are multiplying faster than the capability of the immune system.
Right.
So this is a balancing act. Just like any infection, the immune cells, they can take the upper hand, or the infection agent can take the upper hand. So your response to the infection depends on this balance. Cancer is no different. It's the same thing.
I was watching an absolutely fascinating series, and the two shows I watched, one was on poison, and actually how the study of poison creates medicine. Like poison in one way, cyanide can kill you, used in a different way can be the medicine that can cure you.
That is exactly what happens in chemotherapy.
Right.
We are trying to kill the rapidly multiplying cells with a chemical which is poison to them.
Yes.
But it can also poison our normal cells.
So isn't there a way that we can form a communication that can go directly back to the boss with a cease order, a cease and desist?
The problem is, by the time you detect a cancer, it may have seeded different parts of the body.
Right.
Now, the biggest cancer, or the most important cancer that kills adults in the United States and Canada, is prostate cancer. Or if you take 100 people diagnosed with prostate cancer, a third of them will die of cancer. A third of them will know they have cancer, but it does not bother them. They will die of something else. The other third will not even know they have prostate cancer until, for some reason, they have an autopsy.
Oh.
So the question is, what is the difference between the third that die and the others that don't?
Right. What is the difference?
The difference is the third that die will have metastasis.
It's multiplied elsewhere in the body.
Elsewhere in the body.
Right.
Now, how does that cause death? Because they don't produce any toxins. They don't destroy any neighboring cells. Here is the problem. In order to multiply, the process the cancer cell uses is the same as a normal cell multiplication. It needs materials, it needs energy, just like constructing a new home.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it needs a plan or somebody to oversee all these things.
Right.
So in cancer, they use the same raw material to produce the new cancer cell as the normal body cell.
Mm.
They use the same energy source as in normal cells. They need energy to function.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some hormones that promotes the workers.
Mm-hmm.
That is like in breast cancer, if you have female hormones, they grow faster. And now every activity of the cell will be enhanced or promoted by the hormone called insulin.
Mm-hmm.
Insulin is a growth activator or functional activator. It stimulates so many genes, so many enzymes. Enzymes are the workers that produce new cells.
Mm-hmm.
Insulin will empower them. Okay, you wake up, you have to work harder. The
Yeah.
higher the insulin, people with type 2 diabetes have 50% higher chance of endometrial cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, because the people with diabetes provide two invaluable things for cancer cells: the insulin as a growth promoter and glucose as the energy source.
Right. You're feeding the enemy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when they multiply faster than the capability of the immune system,
Mm-hmm.
you can see the imbalance.
Yes. 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 And we talked about insulin in our last show. Please go back and listen to that. Um, how much of the mind can reprogram the cellular structure here? I'll get back to the boss. Is there any form of messaging that can go back to stop it, or is the only way to aggressively kill those cells?
Well, there are two ways to look at it. One is physically, if you deny the energy source,
You're right.
amount of glucose,
Mm-hmm.
then you can slow down the multiplication and your immune system can keep it under control.
Right.
The best example is the Native Americans. In the year 1900, they were brought to the reservation. When they reached the reservation, they had a complete medical checkup.
Mm-hmm.
And two things they did not have practically. One is type 2 diabetes, the second is cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So the Royal College from London sent a team of doctors to investigate Native Americans. Why are they not having cancer?
Mm-hmm.
And they could not identify a reason. The Native Americans, even though they had 10 times more octogenarians in their per 100,000 population compared to white Americans, they still did not have any cancer. So the Royal College physicians decided the Native Americans are immune to cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have higher than white American incidence of cancer.
Because they went to the white man's diet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
what is the biggest component that the Native Americans never ate?
Meat? No, not they ate meat. What did they? What is it? Dairy?
They moving from one food source to another,
Right.
eating meat, vegetables, fish, fruits, nuts,
What was
egg
ever available in the Lao? Right.
in nature.
Yes.
One thing they did not eat was cultivated grains.
Ah, right.
They never stayed in one place to cultivate grains.
Right.
And 100 years ago, the percentage of complex energy, food energy from complex carbohydrate was less than 35% of daily food energy intake. Now, in developed countries, it is 50%. In developing countries, it is 70%.
Mm,
So we are feeding a lot of glucose, or we are dumping a lot of glucose into the system after each meal with a complex carbohydrate, mostly grains and grain flour products.
right. Now, I remember bringing this up actually with somebody after our last conversation, and they were kind of, no, 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 we need grains. Grains are important, and so there is a controversy because obviously there's been a conditioning that grains are the way to go.
Well, you know what my answer is? If nature intended grains for humans, we would have had beaks to pick them up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we would have the ability to digest the chaff. We don't.
Right. So
We,
are there
again,
any particular grains that are worse than others?
no, it is the quantity of energy you get from grains. It doesn't matter what type.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference in the ratio. For example, if you take refined grain, if you take 100 grams, 80 grams is complex carbohydrate. If you are whole grain, if you take 100 grams, 77 grams will be complex carbohydrate. So you still have an enormous amount of complex carbohydrate coming from grains.
Then why are grains being pushed on us so much?
Oh, very interesting question. About 60 years ago, we had the agricultural revolution, the green
Mm-hmm.
revolution. And every government in the body, in the world, subsidized grain farming because that's the easiest and the cheapest way to feed a growing number of people.
Right.
And that became the biggest uh, food source or energy source. Then something else happened. In 1970s, Senator McGovern chaired a Senate committee to identify the problem of increasing heart attack in Americans. And the doctor who did the study, he looked at the blockage and found it is cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
And cholesterol is a fat.
Mm-hmm.
So he suggested we need to go into a low-fat diet.
Mm-hmm.
So that means in order to feed, you lose less meat and more carbohydrate.
Ah, okay.
If you look at all the cheapest food available,
Mm-hmm.
all the convenient food available, most of the food accessible are based on grains and grain flours.
Let's break down exactly what the grains are so people can actually really identify them.
That we cultivate rice, wheat, corn. These are the three major ones in the United States and Canada. In other parts of the world, there are other variations of some millets and other grains,
Mm-hmm.
but rice, wheat, and corn.
Okay.
Now,
So oats is
oat is also that, it is a little less carbohydrate compared to the other grains, but
mm-hmm.
oats are similar. It all depends on the quantity you eat. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
suggesting you should eliminate it completely. What I'm saying is, if we can cut it down to 50% of what you are taking now,
Right. And
you're fine.
increase more natural foods like fruit and vegetables,
Exactly.
especially seasonal ones.
Exactly.
Right.
The,
Right.
see, so on the one side, you need to reduce feeding the cancer cells, since we are about cancer today.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, we need to boost the immune system.
Right.
In order to boost the immune system, we need 100 different nutrients
Ah,
for the immune cells to function properly.
which of course we probably do not get on a daily basis.
We cannot get it from any single food source or a single meal. That's why we eat
Mm,
multiple meals a day.
right.
We need variety, and that variety can come mostly from vegetables and nuts. So
Mhm.
I suggest anybody with cancer, they should eat three different vegetables, three different fruits, three different nuts every day.
And seeds also, like apricot seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, are they good? They're all
They are similar to nuts.
right, right.
So it doesn't matter.
Hmm. And actually, I discovered many years ago the B17 formula, the cyanide vitamin, which got banned. You know, anybody kind of promoting the cyanide vitamin was literally jailed. And of course, that is in your fruits, it's in your berries, it's in your nuts, and particular kind of nuts is higher or lower or medium. But they are the anti-cancerous thing because they go after the cancer like a Pac-Man, right?
They do, but we have to be very careful. When they kill cancer cell, if you have too much of it, it can kill normal cells.
Right. Balance again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is why you need to go to natural foods as much as possible rather than supplements.
Right. Right. Exactly. Which means that, you know, it's go down to your local, weekly markets and buy directly from the farmers, right? And getting the food that has literally just come out of the ground, or even start planting your own.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also with your food, it's if you are going to eat meat, what are they feeding that cattle? Because they do feed an awful lot of grains, don't they?
Yes. So all of this come into picture, not only grains, but how are those grains produced? Do they use toxic chemicals
Yes, yes,
as pesticides, as
yes.
herbicides?
The GMO foods. Yeah.
Yeah. So that has to be factored into this also. So as much as possible, as you mentioned, if you can grow your own, if you can get from the local market, organic as much as we can, because but they are expensive. So you have to make some allowances that you are better off.
Yeah. And I think actually a lot of the problem that I've discovered through the years is that people who are eating what I call empty foods, you could be eating a really big meal and it's full of the vegetables that are the GMO or, that are processed in some way. And the nutrients that you're going to get from it are very, very little, as opposed to when you're eating very nutritional, organic, healthy food, it fills you up quicker because you are getting more of the nutrients and you feel better for it. So
Yes,
a lot of it is it is the quantity. You don't need a mass quantity to get
right.
the good nutrients. You just need good food, right?
You need variety.
Yes.
That is,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm
And,
I'm a I'm a six veggie person a night.
right.
Person. I love my veggies. In fact, you can take my meat. I don't care, but don't touch my veggies. And and I love fruit, but I'm inclined to like dried fruit, which I know has a lot of glucose in it.
Well, the dry fruit has, again, depends on the quantity we eat.
Yes, again, moderation.
But yeah, the question is, how do we determine
Right. What is that moderation?
what is the? All you have to do is to look at toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at how toddlers eat, you'll observe three things. One, they will not eat unless they are hungry.
Right.
Unlike adults, oh, this is somebody's birthday, we have to eat. They brought in special food, or the
Yeah.
host made it just for me. I have to eat. No, the toddlers don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Second, they will pick and choose. When they visit grandmother makes so
Yes.
many of their favorite foods, but the child may take one or two or three. That's it.
Yeah,
What
I,
they
I I can attest to this with my little 1-year-old grandson, and I was looking
Yeah,
after him a couple of weekends ago, and he can, one day he loves strawberries, another day drop.
exactly.
It's like, nah, I don't want it today. Another
Right.
days I love avocado, and another day, no.
Yes. How do they know
I
that?
know because it's instinctual within them of what their body needs. They're more in tuned into the body because the mind hasn't got in the way. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And once they are done, they could care less how much is left on the plate.
No. They've taught him how to say enough in sign
Right.
language is enough, and he's there shaking his hands.
Yeah. They would rather go out and play. So
Yes.
if a child like that
Mm-hmm.
can decide when to eat, what to eat, how much to eat, why can't we?
Yeah, but that again comes into the mind and the conditioning that's got in the way, right? I mean, you look at the foods that we're meant to eat, the dairy, the wheat, the this, the that, and notice how they've changed that now. Um, fruits and vegetables were kind of a small portion in all of that other stuff, right? And
Yeah.
it's, I think the other thing is obviously get out of your head of what should be and go in tuning into what your body knows it likes. If you see a better performance, if you're sleeping better, if your gut feels healthier on certain
Exactly.
foods, then you know that food is good for you.
Yeah. So I let me tell you this story. One time I asked 10 white American adults, one American adults, to write down 3 days in a row over the weekend the exact time they felt the sensation of hunger
Mm-hmm.
and the exact time they started eating. 4 out of 10 never felt hungry for 3 days,
Mm.
never felt the sensation of hunger.
Mm-hmm.
But that did not stop them from eating.
Ah, yes. Yes, my kids do this as fasting, and
Right.
my daughter and her husband do it every Tuesday and Thursday, just purely liquids.
Okay.
And they said they actually do feel so much more energy. Obviously, they're losing some weight and they feel better for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just don't need those 3 meals a day. We need fluids, but we don't always need the actual food.
Well, the thing is, we don't know when we are going to be hungry
Mm-hmm.
next. What causes the brain to create the sensation of hunger?
When the stomach goes rumble, rumble.
Well, when you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
your stomach is completely empty.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the most hungry in the morning when you wake up?
Me, no, but some
No,
people do. They're
no.
big breakfast people.
Very, very few people feel famished when they wake
Mm,
up in the morning.
yeah,
Even so, what I'm suggesting is emptiness of the stomach is not the reason
right.
for feeling hungry.
It's when the body's resources need reboosting.
When the brain keeps tab of every nutrient, the 100 that I mentioned,
Right.
every organ and system report to the brain, there's a feeding center. I'm missing this, this is low, big, especially glucose.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep tab of when the level of the total level of nutrient deficiency reaches a threshold level. That is when the brain says, okay, time to eat.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a particular nutrient, then the brain will create craving for
Yes.
food that contain that nutrient.
Yes, I did a show on chakra foods. And then actually, if you're craving certain color foods, that's your particular part of your chakra that needs to be nourished, right? So,
Exactly.
and we do suddenly, oh, I got a craving for this, I got a craving for that. Well, don't deny yourself it, right? It's the
Exactly.
body knows that it needs that right now. Pay attention.
Right. Each time you eat, now this brings up a different question. That is, can you think in nature of a food adult humans can get nutrients from without chewing?
No, just other than liquid water.
What? Yeah, or honey.
Oh, right, true.
But he cannot live on honey or
No,
water.
right.
Why did nature packaged all nutrients in a way where you have to chew to get the nutrient?
To break it down, to be absorbed.
Well, more important than that, when you chew the food, the rate of release of nutrient is
Ah,
such that The receptors in the mouth and nose, the taste receptors and smell receptors, can not only identify what that is
Mm-hmm.
and how much is going down.
Right.
It is
Right.
not only the identifying, but metering.
Mm.
For just to give you an example, when you are thirsty, suppose you are thirsty right now, I saw you drinking water.
Coffee.
Okay, it doesn't matter. When you are thirsty, can you predetermine the amount of water that will take to quench your thirst?
No.
Let's say I bring you water, 12 ounces of water. How much will it take to quench your thirst right now?
Well, it could be just a sip, or if you're really thirsty, you could devour the whole thing. It just
Correct.
depends, right? The
So
body will
the
tell you.
amount is variable.
Yes.
And suppose you drink it, how long will it take for you to drink it to quench your thirst?
Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, you can't gulp, 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 gulp down more than what you can swallow.
No, what I'm saying, time wise, how many
Uh,
minutes?
to drink a bottle?
No,
Uh,
to quench your thirst.
oh, I don't know. Haven't thought about that.
About a minute or two, right?
Okay.
By the time your thirst is quenched, the water you just drank is still in your stomach.
Mm,
It has not been absorbed into the body yet.
right.
So how did the brain know
Yes.
you
It's
had enough
enough.
water?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The
Yeah.
brain knew that because the taste buds are metering
Mm,
how much is going down. So it has to be a rate of release, and the rate of swallowing has to match with the capability of the sensors to detect and report.
yeah. Because you look at a camel, it can fill up its tank of water and it will use it over a period of time as it needs it.
Correct.
Right. I need
So
a sip of coffee on this one.
right. That is how the toddlers control. They listen to the receptors in their mouth. And when you're hungry, that first bite of food tastes so good.
Yeah.
But after a few minutes, the intensity of
Yes.
enjoyment goes down. That is your brain's way of telling you you had enough.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask about juicing.
Okay.
I love juicing. Haven't done it for a while, don't have the machine here, but I used to juice for my family, and I'll do five or different type of juice ingredients in there, and they would have that before going to school. And for me, like drinking it, it was like nectar. There was nothing like it. The beautiful flavors of all of these fruits and even vegetables together. And it always made me feel really, really good. Are we missing something through juicing?
Yes.
Okay,
What we are missing is the control. How do you determine how much?
right.
So once you start using, once you produce it, you feel compelled to drink all of it.
Hmm.
How do you know whether you need that much?
And do we not just disperse what we don't need?
Well, not always. Not all. If it is water soluble,
Hmm.
you can disperse. You can let it out through the only outlet is through kidneys once it
Hmm.
is absorbed into the body. And the kidney can take out only what is water soluble.
Okay.
So, on the other hand, you may end up, if you are chewing the food,
Hmm.
the intensity of enjoyment will go down. The brain will tell you when to stop. When you are juicing, you have got liquid, it goes down faster.
Yeah.
You're likely to drink more than you need. And more importantly, you cannot enjoy all of it. Enjoy, what can you enjoy? If you take a bite of food, you will be lucky if you enjoy 20% of what each bite,
Hmm.
because only what comes in contact with the taste buds you enjoy. The
Right.
rest you swallow. So
Hmm.
the enjoyment factor is much less when you are juicing.
Mm.
When you bite into a slice of fruit or vegetable, you can enjoy that each bite, each slice. Eat a banana or an apple and see how long it takes for you to chew and eat, and drink the juice, how long will it take?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how come our body doesn't recognize the bad things we put in our body, like the carbonated pop drinks and or junk food and things like this, and doesn't send messages to our body that this is not good for us, or doesn't retaliate in some way, or does it when we're just not paying attention?
Well, first of all, you have to decide what is a junk food.
Mm. Empty foods with no nutrients in them whatsoever, and probably
Give me
high in sugar.
give me an example of a junk food when
Well,
empty food.
well, a lot of people drink Coca-Cola or a Pepsi, something like that, or Mountain Dew, or Twinkies, or things that just really have maybe a lot of carbs, but absolutely no value to them whatsoever, and a
The
lot of
car,
preservatives.
well, there are two different things you are talking about. One is the carbs contain glucose; it provides energy.
Mm-hmm.
But then the quantity. The question is how much.
Mm.
If we have 1 pound of fat stored, that is 3,500 calories. So you are not eating for energy. You have plenty of energy. What you are eating for is for nutrients.
Right. Well, like
So,
chips, do you get any value out of chips?
well, again, if it is carbohydrate, if it is a potato chip, it is carbohydrate. There is glucose.
Mm.
So there is that part you cannot deny. What is, there are no other nutrients.
Mm.
So that is, if you want to get all the nutrients you need to eat a balanced diet. You
Right.
cannot go onto one particular food group.
So does pizza with a load of veggies on top count?
The veggie part counts.
Yes.
The base part, which is made of grain flour,
Yeah. And
that is
pasta?
the same thing. That is the
Mm.
problem.
Mm.
And on top of that, if you take bread and pasta and noodles, how much can you chew?
Mm.
So the softer the food, the faster you eat,
Right.
because once you stop chewing, you swallow it.
Yes, true. Is a lot of people go to a raw vegetable diet now? Do you agree with that, or do you think that we need to at least partially cook it?
It doesn't matter as long as you are not allergic to it, as long
Mm.
as you can digest it and absorb. It does not matter how, because human beings have been on this earth for 50,000
Mm-hmm.
years. And initially, they did not know how to cook
Right.
fire. Then they started cooking, but they never cultivated grains until 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So for 40,000 years of our existence, human beings continue to live and thrive without eating any grain-based foods, and for a while without even cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So all these are possible. That depends on how you train yourself or your
Uh,
body.
Now, going back to kind of training yourself, there's an awful lot of people who have got cancer that chose to watch only funny movies, or chose to have a very positive attitude, or chose to beat it. My sister's had lymphoma. She has a sticky blood problem. She has had various cancers. I mean, it's just amazing she's still alive, actually. And, a lot of it, I mean, the doctors have said to her that it's just because she was not going to give in, right? She wasn't going to give in to it. So how much of our attitude, or our fight back, is a part of our own recovery?
There are two factors to consider. One is if you are under stress,
Yeah.
the stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are released, and the cortisol stimulates glucose release.
And allows the cells to grow even more. Right.
So
That's why stress is the number one killer, because it causes heart disease, cancer, and everything else underneath it, right?
correct. So anytime you are a person with positive attitude, you experience less stress
Right.
because you have a command over your own emotion.
Yes.
The second thing is the positive attitude. How does that help? So we talked about, we did not complete as to how cancer causes death.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer causes death, first of all, the cancer multiplies because of the imbalance
Mm-hmm.
between immune system on the one side and the cancer growth on the other side. When the cancer cells are growing, they take raw materials and energy from normal cells.
Right.
And the normal cells starve, especially cells in the vital organs.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't get their energy, they cannot function. That is what causes death.
Right.
So, if we can, on the one hand, don't feed the cancer cell, and on the other hand, boost the immune system, then we have a balance.
Yeah.
In order to boost the immune system, the newly minted immune cells need to know what are their functions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can visualize the natural killer cells going and killing the cancer cells,
Mm-hmm.
have a positive attitude. Yes, I know you can do it. I know you
Mm-hmm.
can. So you are empowering yourself to face the cancer cell and defeat them. And on the other hand, don't feed them. So
Yeah.
you have a balance.
So
So
to boost the immune system, I know that echinacea can be really good, and there could be some other things that are very good. What can one take that can boost the immune system, but that isn't feeding the overactive cells?
just like we talked earlier, three different vegetables, three
Mm,
different nuts, three different fruits, because we need over 100 different nutrients. It is not enough to have just immune cells. They need to go to the site. That
hmm.
means the path has to be clear. There should not be any blockage.
Right,
And once they reach there, they need to send information back to the control center. How many more do we need?
right,
So every part of the human body has to work in
right. Unison.
balance.
Yes. So basically, it's clean thoughts. In other words, immune system, I'm on your side.
Right.
We're Ukraine facing Russia. We're going to beat this, and healthy living. So healthy mindset, healthy intake, and I would assume healthy exercise.
Yes. The exercise is not designed to lose weight or anything.
Right.
Exercise is to condition your heart,
Yes.
condition your lungs, condition your muscles, so that when you have cancer, you can, especially your circulatory system, the immune cells have to go. Somebody has to transport them, and
Mm,
it goes through the brain, the blood.
right.
So if the blood vessels are blocked, it doesn't matter. You have very robust killer cells, but they cannot reach to the site.
Right. Yeah.
So now, one thing is, before we forget, if somebody is treated for cancer and they're labeled as cancer survivor, what does that mean?
Well, they've survived cancer, or
Cancer.
they've beaten it, but very often it comes back because old habits come back.
Well, one thing is, a cancer survivor does not mean there are no cancer stem cells still hiding in the body.
Right. You won the battle, but maybe not the war.
Right. So the available tests, based on available tests, they cannot detect a cancer cell, but they will never say you are free of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You have survived cancer.
Right.
So what I'm suggesting in my book, Surviving Cancer, is how not to feed
Yes.
the
Yes. Keep them dormant.
exactly.
Right. Exactly. Don't
The,
invite them to the party. So, in other
we
words, the
have
clean living and the clean thoughts and the clean exercise and everything that you did to beat the cancer has to be something you sustain for the rest of your life. It's something that you
exactly
have to continue. So it's all like, oh no, I can go back to my old ways now,
no,
because now you can ignite those dormant cancer cells that are in the
correct.
body.
Yeah. The stem cells, some stem cells in our body never get activated. They will
Right.
stay there for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So like that, you can live with it. We can live with cancer cells in our body
Yes,
as
there's a
long
lot
as
of
we
things we
don't feed them.
systemically live in, right? I believe, the plague is even in our system, but if we don't ignite it, right, it's
Correct.
just going to be there dormant. So
Exactly.
there's just a few unsavory guests that we don't want at the party.
Right.
Right. So we've got to make sure that they don't get the invitation and the
Correct.
door is blocked to them. And
Yes.
that means only positive people. So a positive attitude, a positive outlook on life, a
Right.
positive intake of food. I
Yeah.
also believe very much in the way you eat your food. Eat
Yes.
it with gratitude,
Yes.
right? Because I think you
And,
digest differently when
and
you eat it
chew
with
your
gratitude
food.
and chew your food. And that's the thing about fast food, it goes down fast. So
Right.
yeah, you want the food. And this is, I haven't had it for a while, but normally I have a, a bag of mixed nuts here with seeds I have cranberry, dry cranberry, I have sesame seed, pumpkin seed, peanuts and cashew nuts. And if I feel a little hungry, I have a handful of that.
Exactly. That's
Right.
the style I'm talking about.
Right.
Exactly.
So that type of thing, you can mix for you. I know almonds are very good for you. I can't take them. Walnuts are very good. They can, eat the parasites in the body. All of these things have a job to do. And
Right.
when we put them together, they become that army that is constantly fighting on your behalf.
Right. Yeah. They feed the immune system and get them ready for any fight, whether it is a bacteria or a cancer, does not matter.
I mean, the thing is that we look at cancer and a lot of people look at it as the death sentence. They get very, very depressed about it. They give into it. And really, it's like with anything can be reversed.
Right.
Everything can be overcome. But the
Yeah.
first and foremost, we've got to be willing to do what we need to do and
Right.
stand up to it.
Well, the good part is people like you are giving them the information they need. They're afraid because they don't have enough information.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
is what I'm
Or
thankful for,
misinformation.
or misinformation.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thankful for, people like you who have an audience. They listen to you so you can teach them that you don't have to be, you have some control. Most of the time when they are diagnosed with cancer, you become totally dependent on your oncologist.
Yes. We don't want you to become dependent on a doctor. A doctor there is to diagnose and help you get through it. But, we look to Western medicine as, okay, take care of my symptoms, but we forget we're not addressing the root of the problem.
We have to be very cautious when
Yeah.
we say that. That is, if you have cancer cells, we need to reduce the number as
Yeah.
soon as possible. So we need treatment to control, but you can help the doctor to
Yeah.
use less medication by not feeding the cancer cell on the
Yeah.
one side, by boosting the immune system on the other side.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we think we're powerless when we get these things, and really the power actually does lay within us. It's all
Yes,
up to us. I mean, the doctors can only do so much.
exactly.
And it is up to us of what we don't just hand your life over and say, fix me.
Right.
It is like, okay, we're a team. I'm going to do my part, you do your part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Help the doctor. So don't be antagonistic or argumentative, but say, what can I do? How can I help?
Yes.
Because we are in it together.
I have to have you back again. What are we going to talk about next time?
The one topic that we did not, well, we can look at the nutritional factors and
Mm-hmm.
eating,
Mm-hmm.
or childhood cancer.
Yeah.
Why should a child even? The average age of an adult with cancer is 60,
Mm-hmm.
because we are accumulating mutations of the control gene.
Yeah.
And when their activity is depressed or they are eliminated, you have cancer. But that takes decades of mutation. And is the average age of a child with cancer is 6.
Mm.
The child has not lived in long enough to accumulate mutations.
Right. So where is it coming from?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to have you back again where we're going to talk about childhood cancers. I'd also like to talk about skin cancer. Because I know numerous people who have had it, including my brother, and it's like, is it the glucose in our bodies? Is it the overactive, or is it the sun rays? Are there external factors, elements that are out there that can bombard our system that we can protect ourselves from? So we're going to have you back again where we can talk about that. I'd also like to talk about allergies.
Allergies?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So there'll be a part 3 with you, love. Most certainly. Every time, I love the way you actually describe it, because in layman's terms, we get it. You're not kind of talking doctor's terms where it's like out of our, stratosphere. It makes sense. And so really what we're summing up today is that we have a cell boss who, when you have a wound or anything, sends out the cells to fix the wound. And then once it's fixed, it should be deceased the order now. We don't need you to manufacture anymore. And when it doesn't get that order, it continues to manufacture. And that is then what creates the cancer. And
Exactly.
and the way we can defend against that is, yes, we can attack those cells to shut them down, but also we can boost the immune system
Correct.
through well-balanced nutritional eating, very positive attitude, keeping our stress level down, exercising, and making sure that we build that immune system up.
And reduce the amount of complex carb you put in your body.
Right. Is potatoes part of the grain, or is that a different category?
It is a complex carbohydrate, but not a grain.
Good. I love potatoes.
Yeah.
I
And
love yams.
most of the increased carb comes from grain and grain-based foods.
Right. Okay. So vodka is okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Always such wonderful information. Thank you so much. Now, how do people get hold of your books, and how do people get hold of you?
My website is drjohnonhealth.com.
drjohnonhealth.com, folks.
And all the books are available on Amazon.
Exactly. And actually, you're going to see it here. All you have to do is put Dr. John. I'm going to actually drop your surname, just make it easier for people, and just under because when you do a third show with me, you get your own page with all of your shows in it. So it'll be under just Dr. John. I want you to go back and listen to the other show. As you can see, he talks about coronavirus in a way that is so easy to understand. And we talked about diet and diabetes, which is also kind of mind-blowing. And here today just broke down cancer in simple terms, that, you know what, it empowers us to make better choices to prevent cancer. Why do we have to wait for it to come? Let us prevent it by keeping our immune system strong and making sure we have that proper, well-balanced nutritional diet, and keep the stress away, because that's an inviter, right?
Another topic that we may want to talk about will be cardiovascular disease.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. Oh, that's the 4th show.
Let me give you a teaser.
Yes.
HDL is called good cholesterol. Why? What good does it do?
Well, we're going to have you come back and tell us. And my father died of heart disease. It runs through the family. So yes, that's a big one as well. So we'll do the next show on childhood cancer. We'll keep the cancer show going up here. And then the show after that, we will do on heart disease. So clearly so much more to have from you, Dr. John. So thank you so much here for sharing today. And a reminder of what his site is, folks, it's drjohnhealth.com. And
Dr. John on health.
On health, sorry, Dr. John on health, on health, folks. And also he's on Facebook, he's on YouTube, and Dr. John on health, and on YouTube and on Instagram. It is with his surname, which is Poothullill, and you can catch him there as well. Thank you so much, Dr. John. Always a delight having you back very, very soon on the childhood cancers, then the next show on heart disease. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Folks, when it's broken down and it's simplified and we can see it more in terms that we understand, and we're more empowered to take back our health. Because remember, health is your choice. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. Please tune in to our selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see all the other genres that we have from you. Every week on Tuesday, we bring you new shows from illuminating people. If you know someone that should be interviewed, please contact us at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com. Now stay tuned for your next show.